Ready to take a deep dive into some of the NFL's darkest chapters? In just 20 minutes, we'll explore some truly shocking moments in pro football history, from criminal cases that rocked entire teams to controversies still debated by fans. Let's jump right in and see what really went down. Number 6, Hernandez. We start with a name that still echoes through the NFL, Aaron Hernandez. He was once touted as a gifted tight end, playing college ball at Florida under the watchful eye of Urban Meyer, and later catching passes from Tom Brady for the New England Patriots. In 2012, the Patriots saw Hernandez as a cornerstone for their offense, signing him to a reported 5-year, $40 million extension. On the field, he looked like a rising star. Off the field, however, the story was far darker than anyone suspected. In 2013, Hernandez was charged with the murder of Odin Lloyd, a semi-pro linebacker who was dating the sister of Hernandez's fiancée. That news hit like a freight train, both for fans in New England and for a league that had just begun celebrating a new generation of dynamic tight ends. The evidence, text messages, home surveillance footage, and ballistics swiftly painted a bleak picture. Despite attempts at a defense, Hernandez was convicted in 2015 of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Lloyd murder case was, unbelievably, not the only accusation he faced. Authorities also linked Hernandez to a 2012 double homicide in Boston, alleging he shot 2 men in a drive-by incident. While he was ultimately acquitted of those charges, in 2017, the entire ordeal laid bare the disturbing reality of a player leading a double life. How could a guy with so much promise sink into such extreme criminality? Tragically, just days after his acquittal for the double homicide, Hernandez was found dead in his prison cell. His death ruled a suicide. Post-mortem examinations discovered severe chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, in his brain, a degenerative condition linked to repetitive head trauma. Some have speculated that CTE may have influenced Hernandez's behavior, but experts caution that no single factor fully explains what happened. What's undeniable is the wide-reaching impact this saga had on the NFL's reputation. Up until that point, the league had certainly seen player misconduct and off-the-field dramas, but Hernandez's conviction for murder and subsequent death in prison seemed unprecedented. The Patriots organization, known for strict discipline and a winning culture, scrambled to distance themselves, scrubbing references to Hernandez from facilities and websites. The league faced fresh questions about player vetting, mental health support, and even the broader issue of head trauma. In the end, the Aaron Hernandez story left many questions unanswered. It exposed glaring concerns about how quickly the NFL measures or responds to the mental health needs of its players, especially when the athlete in question is crucial to a franchise's success. Fans were forced to question how well they truly know the stars they cheer for. Even now, his name sparks raw emotions among football diehards. It remains a cautionary tale of how immense talent and potential can be overshadowed by violence, tragedy, and a life cut short behind bars. Before we move on to the next one in the list, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying this content so far, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thanks to all of you who do. Number 5, elevator footage. For a brief period, Ray Rice was a top running back with the Baltimore Ravens. He'd been selected in the second round of the 2008 NFL Draft out of Rutgers, quickly establishing himself as a versatile threat who could rack up yards on the ground and through the air. In February 2014, Rice and his then fiancée, now wife, Janae Palmer, were involved in a physical altercation in an Atlantic City casino elevator. When the shocking footage emerged, it showed Rice punching Palmer and rendering her unconscious before dragging her out of the elevator. At first, the league issued what was widely deemed a lenient 2-game suspension. Public outcry exploded. How could an act of domestic violence so severe merit only 2 games off the field? The situation went from bad to worse. TMZ released the full video from inside the elevator, removing all doubt about the violence. The Ravens terminated Rice's contract, and the NFL switched gears, suspending him indefinitely. That indefinite ban was later overturned in court, but by then, the damage was done. Not a single team was willing to offer Rice a contract afterward. This scandal forced the NFL to confront how it handled cases of domestic violence. Commissioner Roger Goodell faced enormous backlash for initially handing down such a light punishment. Critics argued it demonstrated a skewed set of priorities for a league that often penalized substance use or uniform violations more harshly than it did domestic violence. The NFL responded by instituting a revised personal conduct policy. The revised policy promised a 6-game suspension for a first offense of domestic violence or sexual assault, although enforcement has remained controversial, with fans and pundits continually criticizing the league's inconsistency. There's also the broader social context. In a high-octane, male-dominated sport, domestic violence cases aren't unusual, but seldom have they been so visibly documented. The elevator footage left the public with no room for debate about what had taken place. Some in Rice's corner tried to paint him as a man who made a single, life-altering mistake, noting that he and Janae Palmer remained together. Others insisted that a man capable of such violence had no place in the league, even if the law permitted him to keep playing. Financially, Rice's fall from grace was monumental. He lost millions in salary and endorsements. On a broader level, it kicked off a wave of criticism over how major professional leagues, especially the NFL, handle the complex issues of domestic violence and player discipline. If there is any silver lining to this grim episode, it's the heightened awareness it brought to domestic violence. The league ramped up funding for awareness campaigns and resources for survivors, although critics say there's still a long way to go. For fans, the Ray Rice incident was eye-opening. It showed that one viral video could spark a major policy shift in a billion-dollar industry. It also sparked deeper conversations about the responsibility of star athletes and the role the league should play in policing player conduct off the field. Ultimately, Rice's case remains a definitive turning point in how the NFL addresses off-field behavior, even if questions remain about the consistency and sincerity of those efforts. Number 4, CTE Crisis. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, isn't a single moment, but an ongoing crisis that reveals a darker side of professional football. This degenerative brain disease is found in athletes and others who suffer repeated blows to the head. The NFL's troubles with CTE have been simmering for decades, but it took high-profile tragedies to drag this issue into the spotlight. One of the most heartbreaking examples is Junior Seau, a legendary linebacker whose career spanned 2 decades, primarily with the San Diego Chargers. Seau was known for his relentless energy, punishing tackles, and leadership on and off the field. When he died by suicide in 2012, the sports world was stunned. Later examination of his brain revealed CTE. The tragedy jolted fans and experts alike, prompting an outpouring of questions. Why was such a beloved figure driven to take his own life, and what did repeated head trauma have to do with it? He wasn't alone. Former Chicago Bears defensive back Dave Duerson also died by suicide in 2011, leaving a note specifically requesting that his brain be studied for CTE. The results confirmed the disease, adding to a growing list of players whose erratic behavior, depression, and mental decline were strongly associated with repeated concussions and subconcussive hits. The NFL initially faced heavy criticism for how it handled the issue. Lawsuits from former players began piling up, accusing the league of downplaying the risks of head injuries. By 2013, the NFL reached a landmark $765 million settlement, later uncapped, to resolve thousands of these lawsuits. Critics argued the settlement didn't go far enough, and the league's stance came under the microscope when some officials appeared to question the direct link between football-related head trauma and long-term brain injuries. Over time, more research emerged from neuropathologists like Dr. Bennett Omalu, the scientist who first identified CTE in the brain of Mike Webster, the former Pittsburgh Steelers center. Omalu's findings and subsequent studies consistently highlighted how repeated hits, like the kind linemen, linebackers, and running backs absorb on virtually every play, could result in a buildup of abnormal proteins in the brain, leading to symptoms like aggression, depression, memory loss, and impulse control issues. As stories of suicides and erratic behavior became too numerous to ignore, the NFL tried to change course. The league poured resources into concussion research, developed improved helmet technology, and introduced stricter protocols for players who show signs of a head injury during games. Yet the question remains whether the sport's inherently violent nature can ever be truly safe for the human brain. One shocking angle often mentioned is how some players have displayed advanced stages of CTE despite being only in their 20s or early 30s. Aaron Hernandez, for instance, had significant CTE at just 27. Researchers have also pointed out that high school and college players are subject to thousands of hits over their developmental years, possibly compounding the risk long before they ever step onto an NFL field. Despite ongoing reforms, the conversation around CTE is far from over. Organizations like the Concussion Legacy Foundation push for more comprehensive studies and improvements to equipment, while some fans wonder if the game they love will ever escape this shadow. The NFL's darkest moments here aren't confined to a single incident, but a haunting pattern of broken lives that continues to evolve. For many Americans who cherish football, it's a sobering reminder that behind every big hit could lie a hidden cost, one that has claimed far too many athletes' lives. Number 3, dogfighting. Michael Vick was once the NFL's ultimate dual-threat quarterback. Drafted first overall by the Atlanta Falcons in 2001, he quickly dazzled fans with his speed, rocket arm, and uncanny ability to escape defenders. At one point, he was the highest-paid player in the league. Then, in 2007, it all came crashing down when authorities linked him to a dogfighting ring known as Bad News Kennels. It turned out that at a property Vick owned in Virginia, dogs were being raised, trained, and fought, with gambling often involved in these brutal matches. Losing dogs were sometimes executed in horrifying ways. The news was a gut punch for animal lovers and a black eye for the NFL, which had never before encountered a star player at the center of such cruelty charges. The fallout was swift. Vick was suspended indefinitely by the NFL and eventually pleaded guilty to federal felony charges. He served nearly 2 years in federal prison. Public opinion was merciless. Once admired for his athleticism, Vick became the face of animal abuse for many Americans, leading to a wave of protests at any hint of him returning to football. Sponsors vanished. His image was tarnished, possibly beyond repair. However, after Vick's release from prison, he got an unexpected second chance. The Philadelphia Eagles signed him in 2009, sparking heated debates among fans. Some believed he deserved an opportunity to redeem himself after serving his sentence. Others felt that no amount of prison time could atone for the cruelty inflicted on defenseless animals. When Vick eventually took the field, he delivered some spectacular performances, even earning Pro Bowl recognition. Yet, the dogfighting scandal trailed him everywhere. After his playing days, Vick tried to rebuild his personal brand by advocating against animal cruelty. He aligned with organizations working to protect dogs and educate youth about the consequences of dogfighting. While some people remained unconvinced, others applauded the move as an example of genuine rehabilitation. The NFL, for its part, used the Vick situation to reaffirm its commitment to enforcing a stricter personal conduct policy. Still, his case exposed a serious shortcoming in the league's background checks and oversight. How could a star player engage in such activities without anyone noticing? Some fans argued that money and celebrity often create bubbles where even the worst behavior can go unchecked for a long time. The scandal also reignited a national conversation about dogfighting, prompting increased law enforcement efforts in various parts of the country. For the NFL, the Michael Vick story showed the far-reaching consequences when a marquee name is associated with criminal activity. Sponsors threatened to cut ties, and the league's reputation suffered across demographic lines. Beyond the negative headlines, though, there's a complex legacy. Vick returned to the NFL, performed well for a stretch, and has since become an advocate speaking out against the very acts he once committed. It's a dark chapter that forced the league to reflect on its moral obligations, how it assesses player character, and whether forgiveness can truly be earned after such horrifying charges. It's tough to ignore that Michael Vick's downfall and comeback remain one of the most controversial sagas in NFL history. It stands as a stark reminder that actions off the field can overshadow even the most electric on-field talent, and that personal transformation, if sincere, might find some measure of acceptance among a forgiving subset of football fans. Number 2, tank jobs. Tanking is a word that sends shivers down the spine of die-hard fans because it suggests their favorite team might be intentionally losing games to secure higher draft picks. In the NFL, where a single generational talent at quarterback or pass rusher can completely alter a franchise's trajectory, the temptation to tank has been widely rumored for years. While official proof is scarce, accusations have piled up, with some especially eyebrow-raising allegations emerging in recent seasons. One of the biggest bombshells came from former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores. In a lawsuit filed in early 2022, Flores claimed that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross offered him bonuses if the team lost more games, presumably aiming for a better draft position. Flores, who was trying to build a winning culture, said he refused these offers. Although the Dolphins denied the allegations, it set off a firestorm of discussion about whether owners might be encouraging a tank job. It also heightened scrutiny on front offices that shuffle rosters in ways some find suspicious. The Cleveland Browns have frequently found themselves under the microscope, particularly during the years when they were cycling through quarterbacks like a revolving door and piling up losses at a historic rate. Some fans adopted gallows humor about trust the process or the infamous 0-16 parade, but speculation persisted that the organization was racing to the bottom for top draft picks. The team did land some high-profile prospects, though consistent success remained elusive for many seasons. A well-known historical example came in the form of the Indianapolis Colts' suck for luck meme. During the 2011 season, when Peyton Manning was sidelined by injury, the Colts stumbled to a 2-14 finish. Some fans joked that the front office might not mind losing if it meant drafting Stanford's Andrew Luck, considered a generational quarterback prospect. While no conclusive evidence suggested the Colts intentionally threw games, the suspicion lingered among skeptical observers. Of course, the NFL insists its structure and competitive integrity would never tolerate tanking. As a billion-dollar enterprise that thrives on parity, the last thing the league wants is fans tuning out because teams aren't trying to win. Yet the combination of a salary cap system and a draft order that rewards the worst teams inevitably raises an ethical dilemma. If you're doomed to a losing season, might it actually be more beneficial to end up at the bottom for a crack at that can't-miss rookie? Critics argue that even the mere perception of tanking erodes trust between fans and franchises, especially in cities where loyal supporters shell out cash for tickets and merchandise only to watch a losing product. From a business standpoint, a single superstar quarterback might sell more jerseys and fill more seats than a mid-tier team could. That potential payoff is tempting, to say the least. Over the years, rules have been tweaked to discourage overt tanking, but no major tanking punishments like those seen in other sports leagues, e.g. the NBA, have surfaced in the NFL. That could change if more whistleblowers come forward or if certain owners get sloppy about disguising their intentions. For now, fans and pundits can only analyze questionable roster moves, bizarre coaching decisions, and suspicious front office strategies. This is one of the NFL's darker shadows, a scenario in which losing might actually pay off. It's not murder or a dogfighting ring, but it strikes at the heart of competition itself. And for many fans, that's a deeply troubling prospect. Number 1, blackballing. Few issues have ignited a firestorm quite like Colin Kaepernick's protests and subsequent absence from the NFL. Drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in 2011, Kaepernick soared to stardom when he took the starting job mid-season in 2012, leading the Niners to a Super Bowl appearance. His athleticism and strong arm seemed to promise a bright career, but by 2016, he was in the headlines for a different reason. He took a knee during the national anthem to protest police brutality and racial inequality in America. This form of protest, inspired by Army veteran Nate Boyer's suggestion that kneeling could be a respectful yet visible way to highlight the issue, sparked a national debate. Supporters lauded Kaepernick for using his platform to raise awareness of systemic injustice. Critics, including some political figures, accused him of disrespecting the flag and the military. The NFL found itself in a PR bind as Kaepernick's symbolic gesture gained momentum, with other players following suit and fans passionately taking sides. By the end of the 2016 season, Kaepernick parted ways with the 49ers. Although he had thrown 16 touchdowns against just 4 interceptions that year, arguably a decent performance on a struggling team, he never got another shot in the league. Several clubs that appeared to need quarterback help opted for other options widely perceived as less talented. This raised the question, had the league's owners blackballed him for his activism? In 2017, Kaepernick filed a grievance against the NFL, accusing team owners of colluding to keep him unsigned because of his protest. The case eventually settled out of court in 2019, with both sides agreeing to confidentiality. While the details remain undisclosed, the settlement fueled widespread speculation that Kaepernick had enough evidence to make the league uncomfortable with going to trial. Publicly, teams denied any coordinated effort to exclude Kaepernick, citing football reasons for not signing him. Yet, to many fans and analysts, the fact that he never received a serious offer seemed suspicious. Over time, protests during the anthem became a lightning rod for criticism directed at the NFL. Some owners openly opposed it, fearful of alienating fans or sponsors who disapproved of the gesture. Ratings dips in certain seasons were sometimes attributed, fairly or not, to the controversy. Ironically, after Kaepernick was no longer in the league, his jersey sales surged, and he became a prominent activist voice, partnering with brands like Nike for socially conscious campaigns. The debate over Kaepernick's blackballing reveals a larger tension in the NFL. On one hand, the league relies on patriotism and national symbols to connect with its American fan base. On the other, it showcases players, many of whom come from communities deeply affected by the very issues Kaepernick wanted to highlight. As social justice activism grows more mainstream, NFL leadership has struggled to strike a balance between encouraging players to express themselves and fearing backlash from fans who see the anthem as sacred. The Kaepernick saga also underscores the immense power NFL owners hold in shaping the league's narratives. Whether or not they colluded, no team stepped forward to break the trend. This led to countless debates about freedom of speech, political expression in sports, and the boundaries of employer power. For a league that thrives on big personalities and star narratives, the blackballing of a high-profile quarterback for peaceful protest remains one of the NFL's darkest recent chapters. It highlights an ongoing struggle to reconcile the platform of its players with the conservative expectations of some of its audience. Even years later, the name Colin Kaepernick sparks debates as intense as any Super Bowl rivalry. That wraps up our look at some of the NFL's darkest moments, from Aaron Hernandez's shocking fall to the ongoing controversies around head trauma and social justice. These stories show that what happens off the field can be just as impactful, and sometimes downright grim, as the final score. Jokes aside, understanding these controversies helps us see the bigger picture of America's favorite sport. If you found this deep dive informative, remember to subscribe for more high-energy explainers on everything football. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.